CCTV records 22-year-old Grace and her Tinder date, Jessie, getting ready to leave a bar. They had just met a few hours ago, but already they're about to head back to his place. From the outside, everything seemed to be going perfectly well. So well, in fact, that soon after they could be seen heading to a nearby hotel and up to Jessie's hotel room shortly after. Nobody could have expected that this was the last time Grace would ever be seen alone. Meanwhile, Jessie was recorded on CCTV out and about, going up and down the elevator, carrying cleaning supplies, and what appeared to be a suitcase. A suitcase with contents that would shock everyone to the core. And what's even worse, the killer had another date lined up. And if the cops don't intervene and arrest him quickly, this girl, as well as countless others, could fall victim to this very same man. December 1st, 2018, Grace, who just finished a backpacking journey from England to New Zealand, leaves her hostel to meet Jessie. Meanwhile, Jessie is having pre-date drinks at a local bar, downing several beers before the date begins. In fact, as he leaves the bar, you can still see at least 4 empty bottles sitting on the table. They meet in a popular spot where there's plenty of people, making Grace feel safe while she meets her date for the first time. But this will be a false sense of security, as Jessie has no plans to try anything untoward in public. He's going to wait until they're alone. Suspecting nothing, Grace accompanies Jessie to a bar where they drink together for over an hour before they head for a Mexican bar at 7:15 for more drinks, and yet another bar named Bluestone Room around 8:30 p.m. This will be where Jessie tries his luck and sees if he can get a little closer to Grace. At 8:54, they share their first kiss. This is when Jessie takes a trip to the bathroom and where Grace sends her very last message to anyone, telling her friends that it's going amazingly well and that she just clicks with him so well. She's probably excited to spend the night with a man that she genuinely likes. She could have had no idea that instead, he was about to end her life in one of the most horrific ways possible. The next morning, Grace's phone starts to receive a ton of messages. It's her birthday, and there are plenty of friends who want to send her their best wishes. Each and every one of these messages goes unanswered. The first sign that something is wrong is at 8 a.m. when Jessie enters the very same elevator, this time on his own, throwing the camera a suspicious glance. If you think he's just getting the birthday girl a morning coffee, then think again. During that night, Jessie killed Grace by strangulation, and now he's going to try and do everything he can to cover up his crime, and he needs to do it quickly, because he's already got another potential victim lined up. By 8:07 a.m., Jessie is in town and about to start the most eerie shopping trip possible. He starts at the warehouse on Elliott Street, where he buys a suitcase that he plans to hide Grace's body in. He checks out the width and depth of the suitcase to make sure it'll fit her, so he can dispose of her body before anyone can catch him. Then 25 minutes later, he makes his way to another store, where he buys a number of cleaning products that will be used to clean up the murder scene. Then he returns to his apartment for a number of hours, reappearing at 10:42 a.m. before he jumps in a taxi and Apex Car Rental where he rents a car. But it's what he does next that's truly shocking, and puts pressure on the cops to discover and solve his murder as quickly as possible. As Grace's body lies in the apartment, Jessie goes on a date with another girl he'd met on Tinder. Given that he has all the equipment ready to hide one body, it's speculated that he planned this to be his second victim of the day. As he arrives at the bar, Jessie is wearing exactly the same clothing that he wore the night before, possibly the same clothes that he wore when he killed Grace. We're not sure whether Kempson was as pushy in his initial messages to this girl, but what we do know is that the conversation he struck up with her during the date not only brought up some major red flags, it downright terrified her. Allegedly, he wanted to talk to her about where to hide a dead body from the police. Right away, the date is over, and this girl's instincts may have just saved her life. It's hard to imagine the horror that she would have felt when she learned the truth about the man she just walked away from. Certain that he likely had the same fate lined up for her as he did with Grace. At 8:56 p.m., we can see Jessie carrying a piece of equipment back to his apartment. More precisely, it's a carpet cleaner, and he's going to try and use that carpet cleaner to try and remove any trace of Grace's presence at his apartment. He's even got 2 bottles of cleaner in his hand, making sure he's got enough to get the job done. 30 minutes later, and we're greeted with the product of all his hard work. He's about to try and hide the body. He reappears in the elevator with a trolley carrying several luggage bags, one of which is the suitcase that he'd bought earlier that morning. It's way too heavy to carry, as inside is Grace's dead body. Of course, he can't walk through the streets with this amount of baggage, which is exactly why he hired the rental car. Minutes later, he's loading the rental car with all of the baggage, ready to make the next move in his attempt to cover up this murder, hiding the body in a place he thinks no one will find it. The next morning at 7 a.m., Jesse buys a shovel and heads back to his apartment, where he collects some clothing to take to the dry cleaners, destroying more potential evidence of his crime. But he's not done there, as he stops off at a random trash can, tossing a large trash bag inside. Then Jesse takes his rental car for a deep clean, paying particular attention to the rear of the vehicle, where he had stashed the suitcase containing Grace's body. And with that, his work was done. Her family report her missing to Auckland police on December 5th. Grace's father, David, even flies to Auckland and makes a heartfelt appeal for his daughter's safe return.
Grace has been missing for several days, and as a family we've been extremely concerned for her welfare. If anybody has seen, spoken to, or come into contact with Grace, come forward and contact the investigation team.
With so much media coverage at the time, Jessie likely saw her father's appeal, and yet the family's pleas went unanswered. But Auckland police are about to use various methods to track Grace's last movements and find their main suspect in her disappearance. They're able to find out she was on a date with a mystery man, and after poring over hours of surveillance footage, they find the last person she was with, and track him back to his apartment. At 3 p.m. on December 5th, the cops turn up at the City Life Hotel, but they almost miss their man, as he eyes them in the lobby when he approaches the front door. Jesse thinks if he casually strolls away, he won't be noticed, but these eagle-eyed cops don't miss a trick and quickly apprehend him before he can make an escape. In the interrogation room, he plans to lie his way out of this, but he's completely unaware that the cops have already seen every move from the night of the murder and have about as much evidence as they could possibly ask for. At the start of the interview, he has no reason to lie, as he's just recalling the events before the murder.
Tell us about Grace.
So I was talking to Grace on Tinder.
Yeah.
We'd matched on Friday. I saw that we'd matched the next day on the Saturday. And then we met at Sky City. And then we decided that we were going up to Andy's Burger Bar, which is on the first floor.
Not long into this interview, Jesse becomes entangled in his first lie, as he claims Grace was the one pushing for a date, when we already know he was the one trying hard to meet Grace in their initial messages.
Whose idea was it to go to that particular burger place?
Me. Because I didn't initially know that she was real.
What do you mean?
Well, there's a lot of... So have you heard of catfish?
No.
So catfishing is where someone uses your profile or uses your photos and pretends to be you and then meets and you're a completely different person.
Right.
And it's on Tinder, it's all about the way you look. And so if they use more endearing photos, you're more likely to swipe for them. Yeah.
How does meeting in a public place sort of protect you from meeting someone who's not as good looking as